Hi guys, and welcome to this video on the total lunar eclipse. That's also a full moon in Sagittarius that happens on the 26th of May 2021 at 11:13 in the morning, and that's based on UK time. Thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I'm going to give you a rundown of what this chart is about, the one you can see right here, and what this full moon eclipse is going to do for you and how you can use the energy to your advantage. Now, first of all, the full moon isn't like an event that happens at 1 minute and then that's it. It's not like the moon does nothing the day before or the day after. It's a gradual process. So it waxes to become the full moon the day before and builds up slowly. And then once the full moon has happened, it wanes away and becomes slowly. So I always tell people to look at this as kind of a 3-day event because it is a gradual process and not to get too hung up on the timings and the time zones. It's really, it's a gradual experience that you'll feel for quite a few days. This full moon is a supermoon. So the moon is much bigger than usual because it's closer to the Earth and it appears to be bigger. And I mentioned this in the weekly horoscope that I do, but in Australia, Qantas Airlines have done a flight particularly to allow people to watch this full moon eclipse take place. Isn't that great? I thought that was such a great idea because this is going to be quite striking and significant, not only in terms of astrology, but also the way it looks. So I think that's great that they offer that. And the full moon is when the moon reaches its monthly completion point. So it's associated with achievement and success and celebration because the moon's been building up to this all month. And now when it's completely lit up by the sun, which is 180 degrees away from it, they oppose one another. It's totally lit up and it's able to let go of its energy and it's able to say, hey, I've done my job for the month. Hooray. And it's in Sagittarius. So it's going to shower all of us here on planet Earth with Sagittarius energy. Sagittarius is a fire sign. It's ruled by the lucky planet Jupiter. And Sagittarius is the sign of the centaur. So half horse, half man. He's got his bow and arrow. And the centaur is all about galloping towards something and being focused on the journey rather than the end result and the product of what you're doing. It's letting the wind blow in your hair and enjoying the path that you're on and really moving towards something in a way that makes you feel joyous and motivated and like you're having a good time and you're broadening your horizons, you're experiencing something new, and all of that is really going to be amplified during this supermoon. Then what happens is that the full moon is interrupted because it's an eclipse, right? So the sun and the moon are opposing one another. The earth moves in between the two. The sun lights up the earth and the shadow of the earth then falls onto the moon. The shadow of the earth is kind of brown, rusty, reddish color, and it's going to darken the moon and make it appear reddish brown, which is really on brand with it being in a fire sign in Sagittarius, because the moon appearing to be red is very interesting, especially when it's in the fire sign Sagittarius. So things are aligning in a way that really makes sense. And the eclipse is a symbol that this process of the full moon is interrupted. And because of that, something kind of gets stuck and the energy is available to all of us for the next 6 months. So this isn't just a full moon that makes you feel optimistic and like you can broaden your horizons and do new things and pursue new goals, which are going to be amazing for you. It extends that whole process for the next 6 months so that you can really plan ahead and access that spirit of adventure for the next 6 months. And I think it's great, especially after what we've all been through, to kind of get this energy which says, do you know what? The next 6 months are yours. You're free to choose what you're going to focus on. You're free to decide what interests you and what you like doing and what you want to pursue. And it allows you to kind of set certain goals and to do things in the next 6 months, which have seemed impossible before, because you really get a boost of energy. Fire is a masculine element. It says you can do things. You can decide for yourself that this is something you care about and you can go after it. So whether you want to change things in your relationships or in your education or your career or your finances or the your fitness levels or where you live, travel, anything like that, if it makes you feel a certain way, if it gives you kind of butterflies and a sense of excitement, then this eclipse full moon allows you to say, okay, this is what is giving me this emotional response. I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to set it as a goal. I'm going to do something about this, not just today on the 26th of May, but I'm going to make certain decisions over the next couple of months. And this energy will be there supporting you to actually go through the journey, not to lose motivation or interest, but to continue on with it, left foot, right foot, or left hoof, left hoof, right hoof, and to keep going, to make the process quite enjoyable, but then to ensure that all of that fun and enthusiasm ends up in you getting what you want. Now, the moon is at 5 degrees. 5 in numerology is about freedom. So that's another message here, that you get to choose what it is you're going to do. And the moon is the moon in astrology is what makes you feel at home. It's what makes you feel comfortable. It's your feelings. It's what allows you to decompress and to go, oh, this is natural and good. So it's not about what you ought to do with your life. It's not about, oh, I really think it would benefit me if I did this course and then in 6 months to a year I would have that degree, and then it would be sensible and it would be reasonable to take the next one and to get that employer. It's not about being sensible. It's really about what makes me feel excited now and what makes life worth living and what makes it really thrilling. And to discover what that is, the source area, the area where you should do this research to find out are your feelings, because this is a full moon in Sagittarius eclipse. It's not a solar eclipse, it's a lunar eclipse. So your feelings are the things that are going to provide you with the most material and the answers to those questions. So you don't have to write a big paper on what motivates you in life. You're naturally going to feel it. And if you like to go bowling, then that's good enough. You like it, it's enjoyable, so do something about it and pursue it. That's really all this is asking you. It's a chance to make life positive and uncomplicated, and to have a daily experience where you feel like you're working towards something, but you're having fun in the process. It's really as simple as that. So you don't have to really analyze this or make it make sense. It just kind of feels a certain way, and if you pursue that feeling, it's going to be consistently available for the next 6 months. And the nice thing, the nice side effect to all of this is that it actually gets you somewhere. So with the bowling thing, if you decide, hey, this is something I enjoyed in the past, I'm going to pursue this, and you go bowling every day or every other day, then you really improve your skills. That's a side effect, because anything you do consistently, you're going to get better at. And then maybe you decide in 6 months that you want to go to some sort of competition, and that's your outcome. So it could be anything. It could be a number. It could be thousands of things. Anything, if your passion is photography or getting into a relationship or going on dates or whatever it may be, it's really up to you to decide. You're free to choose here. Now, the sun is on the other side of the chart. The sun is your identity. It's what gives you a sense of drive and purpose and life. And that's also at 5 degrees in Gemini. So Gemini is about being able to assess the things that have worked for you in the past, to look back and to say, this is something I enjoyed, this opened doors for me, and this didn't. And Gemini is the twins, remember? So it's able to look at duality, the black and white of it all, the up and down, the left and right. It's able to differentiate between things and to sort them out very nicely, and then to open a doorway for you that allows for the most progress. So the axis of Gemini and Sagittarius is a really fabulous axis, because Gemini is about my ideas, things that are abstract and that I'm going to communicate, that I feel are going to lead to something new, things that feel light and breezy and airy. It's communication, it's a sense of humor, it's fun, it's using communication and the abstract side of life to really weave your own story and to open new doors of discovery in an intellectual sense. And Sagittarius does something similar. It says that I can discover new things in the real world by discovering and traveling and broadening my horizons that way. And also it's things like astral projection, because Sagittarius likes to travel not only on planet Earth, but also spiritually. So really, not only is the world your oyster and you can really explore, but the whole universe opens up and you can really go as far as you would like. So if the thing that motivates you is channeling and connecting with higher beings, then really set a goal for that and practice it over the next few months, and you're going to go a long way. So Gemini as well, it's great at multitasking. It's great at doing more than one thing at a time. And at 5 degrees, it just allows you to kind of put your feelers out and to say, I have lots of different interests that I haven't pursued just yet. And life can be exciting and I can pursue things that are new. And there is always something new to learn. It's not sitting back and being bored or feeling overwhelmed by your bills and your responsibilities. It's that childlike belief and innocence that the process of life is fun and good and it's within your reach. And that's really another blessing of this, that it really makes you much bigger and it builds your confidence and says, if you inform yourself, and if you inform yourself by saying, hey, what do I enjoy and what do I like, then it makes the world much smaller and it says, hey, I can go there and I can do this. And the finance or the visa or the cultural difference or the permission, anything like that falls away, because the only authority figure that matters to Gemini and Sagittarius is you, because Mercury rules Gemini. So what you think and what you say and what you make sense of is important. And Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So the luck lies within. So if you decide it's right, then that's fine. It's not, oh, the institution says I can do this, therefore I can. It doesn't need permission. It's very self-contained. And that's why this is such a positive axis. If you can connect with it and if you enjoy it, then that's more than enough. So you don't need a lot of approval, or you don't need to research this in any other way than to say it's part of my purpose, I'm going to do it. Now, the North Node is at 11 degrees in Gemini next to the Sun. That's, you can see that black symbol next to it. That's really interesting because 11 is the master number of service in numerology, and Gemini is the Roman numeral 2. But if you take the bridge on top of the 2, look at Gemini as 2 pillars with a thing on top and a thing at the bottom. Kind of like Stonehenge, but with a roof. So you take those horizontal lines away and you just leave the vertical lines and you're left with another 11, right? Do you see that? So with the North Node at 11 degrees in Gemini, we've kind of got 11-11. And 11-11 in the tarot is the 4 of Wands, and that's a doorway of joy. That's a celebration, a wedding, it's happiness, it's coming together of 2 people in a marriage, in a wonderful soulmate partnership, and really starting their whole new life together. The North Node is a very karmic placement in the chart. It says what you're trying to move towards on a soul level. At 11 degrees in Gemini, you're wanting to be of service to yourself by listening to your own needs and what your higher self is communicating to you, doing that so that you can be happy. Being of service to other people by expressing your truth and your joy, because then you inspire other people to do that for themselves. And with this 11-11, if you please yourself and if you try and pursue your own happiness, then the universe is going to meet you halfway and it's going to open this doorway that you can have the wedding, the eureka moment of finding your happy place or getting this brilliant inspirational idea which allows you to create your masterpiece and to write your magnum opus. It's wherever it's the best possible outcome associated with your passion and your desire in life that you can possibly achieve. So that adds a whole nother dimension to, if it's fun and it motivates, that's enough for you to pursue it. Because not only are you going to get somewhere, like what I said earlier, the journey is important, but the side effect is that you actually have an outcome. The outcome is going to be very important to you on a karmic level, especially as it pertains to you finding happiness in life. Wow. Okay, so I'm just thinking about myself because I can do with more happiness in my life. So the things I'm going to do here during this eclipse, I'm going to write down the things that I want to let go of in terms of my thinking that robs me of my own happiness. So character flaws that I've got that I'm aware of. And then I'm going to look at what I'm going to do in future and what I really want. So what do I want in my love life? What do I want in terms of my education? What do I want in terms of experiencing life and being happy? And how can I do that? And then I'm going to try and pursue those things in an actual way over the next 6 months, because this really is an opportunity to not only make the most of the next 6 month period, but to try and live life the way we all want to live it. We all want to live an experience that is happy, joyous, and free. And I didn't come up with that. I borrowed that from the recovery people. So, yeah. Okay. Next door, we've got Venus at 21 degrees in Gemini. That's 10 degrees away from the North Node. So it's not technically conjunct to the Sun anymore, but it's in the vicinity of this karmic influence sitting on top of the Sun, your identity. Venus is love. 21 is 3, 2 and 1 is 3, and Gemini is communication. So you're able to communicate with love, but most importantly, your higher self, your loving higher self, which wants you to thrive on planet Earth and which wants you to have an amazing experience down here, is right next to you, and you can actually hear it. It's kind of like Aphrodite or Eros or Cupid saying, this is what's going to make you fall in love with the process of life, see it, and pursue it. Mercury is next door. Mercury, the communication planet, it's very happy in the sign that it rules, Gemini. 24 is 6. That's a temporary opportunity in numerology. So you really have the temporary opportunity to have a proper word with yourself and to really get it, to let the penny drop. And it's like, this is what's going to make you happy. Not the things you thought were going to make you happy, not the things you were brainwashed into thinking were amazing and fabulous, but the things that really work for you. Doing something for yourself that actually delivers. You know, sometimes if you want to reward yourself, like you've done something amazing, you've passed an exam, or you've sorted something out that's been a long-term process, and you say, oh my God, I need to reward myself. Sometimes you do something that's actually really bad for you as a reward, and it can be really anticlimactic. This is the opposite. This is getting somewhere, talking to yourself and saying, I'm going to reward myself by doing something that helps me grow and that adds more love and joy into my life. So you really understand yourself, and not only what your wants are, but what your needs are, and you're able to provide those. So Mercury, Mars, and Venus, they're the personal planets, right? So everything to do with you. And Mercury and Venus are sitting together. So communication and love working hand in hand. And they're next to the Sun, your identity. Technically, they're not conjunct because they're more than 10 degrees away, but they're within the same area and they influence the North Node. So they influence you on a soul level. So it's kind of like your soul speaking to your conscious identity on planet Earth. And that's what everyone tries to achieve in meditation, to align yourself with the will of the universe for you to have the best life possible. So this is almost too good to be true, isn't it? It's amazing. And it's an eclipse. It's not just a full moon. So you have access to this for 6 months. And in my experience, looking at astrology, and I've been doing this for a while, that sometimes the universe does give us these freebies where things are almost too good to be true. And you notice certain people ride these waves and have these amazing months and years where things are just like, really? That happened to you? That sounds almost too good to be true. And they're like, well, it's what happened. And that's what can happen to you. And that's what can happen to me during this eclipse and moving on until the end of the year pretty much. But you got to believe that it's possible. Well, you don't have to believe. Just go through the motions and ask yourself, what is it that's fun and motivates me? And then you can see in 6 months that you've really lucked out. I think I mentioned this, but Jupiter rules Sagittarius and Jupiter is the lucky planet. So we're under a lucky star here. Okay, so the moon forms certain relationships with other things in the chart. First of all, the thing that's quite glaring is this T-square. A T-square is an opposition between the sun and the moon in this case, and then two sextiles sitting on one side of that opposition, creating a big red triangle. And that's an area of friction that isn't really resolved. So it connects the sun and the moon, and then the sextiles connect the rising sign in Virgo at 3 degrees. The rising sign is the sign of the zodiac that's just coming up over the horizon in the east. And whatever that sign is ruled by is the chart ruler. So Mercury is ruled by, no, Virgo is ruled by Mercury. And Virgo is the ascendant, the rising sign in this chart. So Mercury is the ruler of this entire chart. And Mercury is the communication planet. It's in Gemini, another sign that's ruled by Mercury. So it couldn't be much happier. And not only are you able to have a word with yourself, a loving, kind word with yourself, but you're also able to receive spiritual information via the rising sign at 3 degrees. 3 in numerology is communication. Virgo is about analysis and breaking information down. You're able to receive spiritual messages, and that can translate into, this is what motivates me, this is what I enjoy. It's all very simple. There's not a lot of rocket science to be done here during this eclipse. You're just going to feel certain things and be very certain about them. So that, make sure that that is enough. If you're someone who's very scientific or you research everything, half to death, then just allow for the fact that this feels right to me and that I'm going to accept that as enough during this period. That's going to be enough for me. Try that out and have faith that things like that can work out. It's not that you're winging it, but you're using your own feelings and desires as enough. You're taking them very seriously. And that's what I would recommend that you do with this, because Virgo makes sense of things in a way that's quite serious and diligent. And at 3 degrees here on the rising, if you have that innate certainty that something is going to work for you, then please believe that. Virgo can also be seen as the nurse. So Virgo wouldn't make you feel certain if it was going to harm you. So it's not going to allow the centaur, Sagittarius, to run off in the right direction and hit its head against the wall. It's actually going in a direction that's going to serve you. Okay. So we've got that area of friction. So the identity, do I look at the past and make sense of that? Do I go with my feelings and move forward? With the Virgo at 3 degrees, it says you don't have to choose. It's going to be both. You can use your common sense experience and combine that with your feelings and what you want in future, and either try again or revisit things that didn't work out, or start completely new projects and desires. As long as you're motivated and they give you a sense of excitement, it doesn't matter. Just go for it. Then we've got a trine between the full moon in Sagittarius and Chiron at 11 degrees in Aries. Chiron is the wounded healer. 11 is the master number of service, and Aries is the first sign of the zodiac that says you do it. Don't let other people do it for you. You do it. You take charge of it. It's a cardinal sign, so it's about me. I'm the boss. It's like the magician in the tarot. It's saying you have it within your power to act. And again, it says that this process of getting excited is healing in itself. So this applies to people who have kind of really been down lately, and you don't enjoy the things that you used to enjoy so much. And you feel at a loss and you don't care about anything, and there are no goals that you want to pursue, and there is nothing that motivates you. This applies to you as well, because that spark is going to light up inside of you again. You'll be healed through this eclipse to the point where you can get motivated about new things in future, and you can have hope for the future. So hope returns, is reignited in you, and you're able to pursue something that's going to serve you in future in an actual way. That really is healing. Because I don't know if you've ever been there, but I certainly have, where I haven't been able to get out of bed because life is pretty much over and nothing is going to get better ever again. You know that feeling. if you've been there, you know how oppressive that is and how difficult it is to get out of that state of mind. Sometimes you need a boost from the universe like this to give you a jump start. And that's really what's happening with this fire moon. It's like your spark plugs are being... I shouldn't use mechanic stuff. I don't know anything about it. It's basically little sparks going off inside of you, allowing you to move ahead again and allowing you to make a fresh start and feeling inspired. So yeah, if the last year has been super sad and disappointing, it doesn't mean the next 6 months are going to be as well. This is like a fresh start. It's a timeout saying, let's have a reboot. Let's have new ideas, some new options in life that you're going to pursue, and let's start again in a really light, positive way. The two strongest elements in this chart on the day are air and earth. Air is your ideas, it's the abstract. Earth is practical things. Air is masculine, earth is feminine. So we've got nice yin-yang balance. If I think it, feel it, I can actually do it. And air is about, well, the combination of air and earth is great because it's combining the abstract with the practical. So it motivates me, therefore I'm doing it, and I'm going to get somewhere. Okay, what else? We've got a square between the moon in Sagittarius and the planet that rules Sagittarius, Jupiter, at 1 degree in Pisces. And that kind of, it's a little bit squished, but it kind of creates a grand cross with that T-square I mentioned earlier, with the moon and the sun in Virgo. It does the same thing on the other side of the opposition now. It creates a square with Jupiter, and Jupiter then squares the sun, but it's a little bit squished. I will count it as a grand cross because it's close enough, so I'll touch on that in a moment. But the square with the moon and Jupiter first is the friction, is the spiritual energy of Jupiter at 1 degree, do it yourself, be the magician. Pisces, spirituality. Your feelings are where the luck resides. So again, it's another confirmation that you don't need, a permission slip from your headmistress to say, yes, you can go quad biking. It's, I want to go quad biking, and that's more than enough. So the lucky factor is that you're able to actually become the authority figure in your own life. The square then with the sun in Gemini, you're actually able to hear the spiritual message and the guidance from your higher self or your angels, your guides, your ancestors, however you describe them. As far as I'm concerned, it's all the same thing. If you, and no offense here, but if you think that if Jesus talks to you or Muhammad talks to you or the angels or your guides or your grandmother or your deceased pet or whatever it is, or your gut feeling or your higher self, I really think all of that comes from the same place, which is love, okay? Because all of those energies want the best for you. They want you to thrive. And however you contextualize them as an angel or as Jesus, great. It doesn't really matter, because as long as you're able to get the message, it really is irrelevant in what format it comes through. And the great thing about this is that, I think you get my point. Whatever speaks to you most easily, whatever allows you to hear the message, is what comes through and gives you this message that you can believe in yourself and please pursue your desires. So this grand cross, 4 squares, creating a big red square in the chart. That is, if you have that in your natal chart, it's an area of unresolved friction where you can go round and round and round and it never ends. It's a double-edged sword because it gives you a lot of energy, but it's frustrating because it doesn't allow you to focus on one area, and it can spin you out a little bit. So here it takes the moon saying, be free to enjoy, with Jupiter at 1 degree in Pisces saying, your higher self knows what's best. Then the sun in Gemini, which says, communicate and look at the past and the future and make sure you articulate what it is you want. And then Virgo at 3 degrees makes sense of spiritual as well as practical information. And when you have this kind of, when you have that much energy that's very different in nature, it can be a bit much and it can be overwhelming. It's like, okay, so do I read the book, or do I write the book, or do I pray, or do I go on holiday? Which one is it? It's a bit much. But I think here on this day it combines really nicely because Jupiter and Virgo analyze the spiritual energy, listen to what makes sense as well, and combine them into the most fun possible outcome for yourself. And it doesn't have to be as abstract as I'm making it sound. It can be, Disneyland was really horrible, but I liked the ride, so let's go to Universal. I think I oversimplified with that. Or my higher self wants me to write the book. I know I can do poetry, so I'm going to start with short stories. That's reasonable because that will challenge me, but it's not as much as the whole novel. And I think doing the short stories will be fun. I can see that happening. It motivates me. I'm going to do short stories. Yay. It's that kind of a process. Excuse me. So the Grand Cross is something that really gives you even more energy. The only downfall is that it could possibly make you a little bit frazzled because you're trying to do everything at once. So keep it simple and the one thing that's going to boil everything down to source and to what you want it to be, does it make me feel butterflies in my stomach that are all about excitement and enthusiasm? And if yes, pursue that. Okay, we've got the South Node sitting next to the Moon at 11 degrees in Sagittarius. So you have got experience, that you know in the past has served you before. And I think this talks to, again, this lack of belief that things can be positive in future. So if you've really kind of lost hope and things have been very difficult, it allows you to look beyond this negative feeling and to say, do you know what, that despite the fact that I don't feel anything right now, I can objectively look at the past and say I did have fun before. And I'm going to trust and be of service to myself and elevate myself to the point where I'm going to allow myself to become willing, to be willing to believe that possibly somewhere out there is a happy place for me in future. And I'm going to be willing to pursue that. And that's all you need, is a tiny little bit of willingness. And it really buffers you into jumping off into this great energy of the eclipse. I hope I expressed that properly. So the whole thing is super motivating itself. Okay, so if you're at ground level, then you'll feel this and everything's going to spark off and get bigger. But if you're 5 floors below ground level, and you usually would need to claw your way back up before you could do anything, the South Node at 11 degrees in Sag gives you this boost that restores you to 0. And that allows you to access this the same way anyone else would. So if you've been through something horrific and you're like, nothing's ever going to be good again, I need at least 5 years to heal from this. And I'm not being flippant there. I really mean that, in the sense that something has happened that's made you lose hope to the extent that you feel like you're so damaged that you'll never be able to have a happy moment again. This really allows you to not be so convinced of that and to suspend your belief in that feeling. And that space that the suspension creates allows the fire to come in and to really energize you and light you up again. Okay, so the South Node, that's not really, the South Node next to the Moon. The Moon forms a square with Jupiter. It doesn't connect with Pluto or Saturn. Just thinking out loud here. It does connect with Chiron. I've spoken about that. It forms a quincunx with Uranus at 12 degrees in Taurus. So this, that makes sense. Uranus is the unexpected and change and major. It can be, major upheaval. 12 is communication, new beginnings, and Taurus is the earth, it's practical things. So of course, if you're fired up and if you're super motivated, if you're going to do something new, you'll have a different outcome. So Uranus echoes that sentiment and says, yes, you will have a different outcome by doing things differently. An outcome that actually serves you, which I've spoken about before. And then the Moon forms a sesqui square with Mars at 20 degrees in Cancer. Oh, so even if you're in a relationship that usually holds you back, this is amazing. This is a karmic influence, okay? Because Mars at 20 degrees in Cancer with the moon is saying if you're in a relationship that you've totally betrayed yourself for, so you do have certain desires, but your partner doesn't like you going to university or doesn't like you speaking publicly online or doesn't like something, and you said, oh, my partner doesn't like this, so I'm going to stop doing it for the sake of the relationship. This energy kind of allows you to break through that barrier and to say, well, actually, I am a free person and you don't have to like everything I do, but I like it, so I'm going to do it. And it's not confrontational in the sense of, see, look what I've done just to get on your nerves and to make you angry, which is horrible in itself. But this is something, and if you are in that situation where you have to be scared of someone's anger or disapproval, is that really a good relationship? I don't think so. But it goes okay. And on the flip side, we do have to compromise sometimes in relationships. So if you are in a relationship and you have a tendency to go to parties and to take all your clothes off and to dance on tables, then your partner may not like that. And I think that's reasonable, right? That's reasonable too. So looking at it from both angles, it's being willing to compromise on that level and saying, okay, fair enough. I won't do that at parties because it creates friction in my relationship. But if you're in a situation that does feel kind of restrictive, then this energy allows you to just approach it from the angle of, I'm doing this for myself because I enjoy it and it's about me. It's not really about you. And you're able to navigate your way in that and see what is reasonable and what isn't reasonable in terms of what you're supposed to compromise on and what you're not supposed to compromise on. Does that make sense? Only you're going to be able to answer that in terms of your particular circumstances. So if you're not able to enjoy yourself because you have this job which doesn't pay you very well but makes huge demands on you, and you've accepted that up until now, then with this you'll be able to say, hey, actually those demands are unreasonable and it's okay for me to push back and to break the rules. And it also allows you to say, hey, I have been really like a bit much here. And I see now that me acting in a certain way is actually acting out and I'm really harming this situation and this whole environment. So maybe now that I see that I'm being too much, I can pull it back and refocus my desires and my motivation into another area that's more helpful and healing and positive and less destructive. So you get a really clear insight on your role in your relationships and where you're being held back or where you're being destructive, and you're able to find a more positive middle way. I mean, wow. Okay. All right, so we've got, as I mentioned, that the square with the Virgo rising, that's part of that Grand Cross. And is there anything else? No, that's it. Black Moon Lilith, I just want to mention this, it's not connected to the moon, but Black Moon Lilith is at 24 degrees in Taurus on the midheaven. So the one thing that you may not have much respect for is the restrictions of your life as they relate to your finance, your job, your living situation. That becomes really irrelevant to you, and it really becomes all about what motivates you and what you're going to do in future. And I think that's a good thing, because your current circumstances are simply an outpicturing of decisions you've made in the past. And today you have the opportunity to make really positive new decisions, which are going to create a whole new set of circumstances. So that's fab. Wow. Okay. So I think that's it. Yes, I think that's it. I don't think I've missed anything. Nope. I'm just tilting my head to see if there are any other aspect patterns. Just bear with me a second. No, that's it. I hope it gives you an idea of what you're going to be working with during this total lunar eclipse full moon in Sagittarius. If you would like a personal reading with me, what I'll do is I'll draw up your chart the way I've drawn up this chart. So I've put the date, the time, and the place. And to draw up your natal chart, I need your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth. That gives me a chart like this one, and I'm able to analyze it and see what it says about you and how it kind of creates your identity and how you can work within that framework and how you can make the most of it. I draw up your progress chart and look at your transits to see what's coming up in future. So if you have any questions or decisions to make and you want a second pair of eyes, then please do get in touch with me for that. And I'll look at the best timings around things, what's aligned and what's naturally going to work in your favor over the next couple of months and years and what isn't. Astrocartography shows me what areas have what energy for you specifically. So if you're interested in relocating or if you are going to move or travel, then please do get in touch with me via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. On the front page, click on book your reading to audio reading with me. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe and share the video online. That'd be super helpful. Have a wonderful time here. And again, if you are on that Qantas flight, then please let us know what that was like and take some pictures. I'd love to see. I really would. So have a great day and I'll speak to you soon.